Right, we're going to go for a new dream. New dream, this is quite recent. So this dream is the 8th of August 2025. It's like the 25th of August now, so it is quite a recent one. But I wanted to get this one done next to the one I just went through, which was that they both have Jonathan Rumi in, which is a little bit odd. Well, maybe not actually when I start going through stuff with you. Sorry. So what I realised I didn't mention on the last one was the dream that's called Access All Areas. That actually happened on the 30th of July 2025. Okay, I realised I didn't mention that. This one, as I said, is the 8th of the 8th, so really only just over a week between them. Okay, so I'm going to get straight into this one. This one I'm going to call this one Heavenly Encouragement, and it does kind of feed in a little bit into the bit where I said part of Dream 2 on that previous one had the person Will I Am in it, and he was talking about how he could help me out with a secondary income source, which was interesting because I mentioned about I am possibly being a nod to God. Obviously, I thought that was really interesting that that particular person was used. I felt a little bit too, because I knew 100% it was him, 100%. So yeah, very strange. Interesting. I love messaging through dreams. It's just incredible. Right, okay. I may need to actually sort of duck out in this. So if there's a little bit of a pause and like my head suddenly jolts or something like that, it's purely because I'm being a bit cheeky and I'm cooking a bit of food. So I try and get my videos in wherever I've got time to get videos in. Sometimes there's other bits and pieces going on at the same time, but I don't normally pause them. So this will be a bit of a one-off if it comes up. Okay. Right. But there will be some pictures I need to show, so that or a little picture, so maybe I'll use that as an opportunity. Right. Okay. Anyway. Right. So heavenly encouragement. Okay. So this dream, interestingly, I woke up just after 3 a.m. Again, I mentioned in my demonic series, the demonic realm series, how it's not unusual to wake up about 3 a.m. I think which is called that. Is that the witching hour? 3 a.m. Anyway, doesn't matter. So this one woke up just after 3 a.m. But it was all set up. So basically, that I was in a leisure centre, and there was quite a few people who were playing this game where you had to run through a tight space. So I'm gonna show you a picture of it. But yeah, I watched people basically. Watched people as they did this activity. It was running through. It's almost like running through a gauntlet kind of thing. So it was all sort of soft play. So in the it was almost like crash mats and stuff around, and a little bit like a bouncy castle as far as you didn't look like you were going to get yourself injured. It looked very safe. The problem was what was actually happening with this part that caused the tight space that was causing injuries and even deaths. Okay, so I was watching these people as they were running this kind of gauntlet thing to get through, almost like this mangle. So obviously a mangle is something you would turn it, wouldn't you? And it's two rollers, and you put your wash in between, and it squeezes out the water. It kind of reminded me of that, but I mean, I don't know if that's a very good analogy, actually, to be honest. I just couldn't think of something really that was similar to it that I could use as a way to describe it. It's not a very good one, actually, so I really should drop that. But because I'm going to give you a visual of what it looked like anyway. So it was, so I said this. It was like a soft play sort of environment for the sides and the floor with this. I also said it was a little bit like a car wash. We've got like your rotating things on a car wash that's side by side, and as your car goes through, it goes in and goes out as it's getting the side of your car and stuff like that. And you've also got a top one, haven't you, that comes down and does your car bonnet and up and over your what's it called, over your windshield. Visualize that, and it's very, very similar to that. Okay, except that they're not round, they're square, so they're kind of like rectangular, cuboid. There we go. That'd be the technical name for it. That's what they're like. So they're kind of very straight, edged, but that is the kind of way that they move. All right, so you've got an up and down one, and then you've got two side to side ones. They're all interacting at the same time, and you've got to get through this gap. Okay, so blah blah blah. I'll run through. Yeah. So people were running through it. All you had to do was just get to the other side. You know, that's it. That's all you had to do. But the path was narrow, so that was the thing. There was two, as I said, two vertical aspects. I said that they were like punch bags. It was more to do with what they were made of. So they were packed. So again, I used to do. I haven't really done it for a while. I used to do a lot of kickboxing. So you'd have the heavy bag that you'd obviously been in the punching on, and that generally, well, with kickboxing anyway, you have them kind of weird shapes. So they're kind of quite thick at the top, and then they curve down. Now the bit that's the lower part hangs quite low, and that's really, really densely packed, and that's for leg kicks, because obviously the amount of force on a leg kick is a lot more than a punch, and so you'd be smashing that. Because it doesn't work too well with something that's got too much give. So that's perfect for a punch bag, but for a leg bag, you need, in the leg bit, you need something that's a lot more dense. So this was more like the dense part, and believe me, I've whacked those ones slightly off of how you want to do it, and you can properly bust your foot up on those. So that was one of the reasons I gave it up. I was getting so many different injuries. And time, to be fair, it was kind of inconvenient when it was slap bang in the middle of your Saturday, so you couldn't really do anything in the morning because of you had this coming up, and at the same time it kind of ruined anything you'd want to do in the afternoon. It was a bit of a pain, and it was one of those things where you thought, right, Saturday's kickboxing, you know, because you couldn't really do much else. Anyway, so that's just to describe it. So very, very dense, and they're kind of like covered in what a punch bag would be covered in. As I said, soft play, so same kind of material, that kind of fake leatherish kind of look material. So that's basically what they're made of. Okay, so we've got the vertical part that's coming down and going up, and we've also got the side bits that are coming in as well, and they're coming in at different times, and it's really a case of, do I go? No, I'll go in, you know, and you leg it, and then you're trying to make sure that you get through and you get through okay. So it's all about timing, and yeah, so there's people who are giving this a go, and what they were doing is they were talking about some of the injuries that they'd had. Sorry, and as I said, I looked at it thinking it looks simple enough to me, but it didn't feel like there was any kind of reward at the end of it. It's like, why are people doing this? Because all you do is you get to the finish line, and it's like, yay, you know. It wasn't like you won any money or anything. I think it's just an ego thing, you know, like people who do a lot of stuff. It's, I managed to do it, you can't do it, that sort of thing. A bit like when you're on an assault course or something like that. Oh, I can do the monkey bars, you know, no problem. Look at me. It's all sort of bragging. It was like bragging rights kind of thing. So anyway, these blocks though, these ones that came across till they literally met, which is why they were, as I said, squared off the edges, so that you didn't have that roundness that you would have with a round sort of one. These came to, they were completely flat. So if you were in it, you're going to get squashed. And these had a lot of force behind them, these things. They would come in slow, but they wouldn't stop. You know, so it's not like a door closing on a lift where it detects you and then it backs off. No, it just keeps going. And obviously it's got a little bit of give in it because of its packed. It's like a packed thing that's coming down. It's not like they were made of stone or made of wood or anything like that. They were a kind of material that has a little bit of give in it, but as I said, this was like a kick bag, so I mean, you don't get much out of a kick bag, you know, as far as how much it goes in, that it absorbs. Not really much give at all. And so they were basically telling me, I was like, if you want to get me going on this is not the story to tell me. But they were saying, oh yeah, somebody died recently playing this game, you know, or it was like and you know, there's loads of people that have been seriously injured. I thought, why are we lining up for this? You know, oh, the crazy things that people do. Yeah, so there we go. They're saying how there's this person who did it. Oh yeah, and his head exploded. I was like, what? So this thing crushed, I guess, around his neck or his shoulders or something. It crushed so much that his head just popped, you know, head exploded. The guy died, you know. It's like, okay, okay. So, but for some reason it was my turn. You know, there was nobody who was going before me. It was my turn. I was like, okay. So I did it, but I mistimed it. As I said, you know, I'm getting ready to sort of go, and I completely mistimed it. So I'm zooming off, and I'll pause it for a minute. I'm going to show you that what it looked like again. Okay, so there you go. So that's kind of what it looked like, which is how I described it, didn't I? You've got the person there who's sort of running in. You've got these big blocks that are sliding side to side, and you've got this other one that is going up and down, and then you got the finish line. It was a very big space you had to get through actually, so that's why I thought, oh, easy, no problem. Right, I'm actually in a different location, so now you're going to get a completely different view. There we go. Sorry, I was standing up for a second there. Whoop. Okay, so yeah, so as I said, so you've got people who are running through this area, and with these moving blocks, and it's my turn. It's my turn. So I basically completely mistimed my run in the end, and I ended up getting stuck. I think it was like I got a leg stuck or something like that, but also it started to squash my head. And obviously this person has just talked to me about how there's this person whose head got caught and their head ended up squashing so much that it ended up killing them. So I'm started thinking, right, it's slowly closing on me. It's one of those ones where it started and I thought, well, I know it doesn't stop and I can't get out, so that's it. I guess this is it. Ridiculous game to be playing. And then also to make it even worse is then I see that the top one starts coming down. I thought it's going to take my head off as well. And then as I said, I got to a point where it's like, well, this is it. My head's going to get crushed, squashed like a grape. And it also reminded me a little bit of like a car crusher as well. This is it basically. So it's like, I kind of wrote down, it was almost like I was caught in a trap, and this trap was just slowly closing, and it reminded me of scripture actually. Outside of the dream, it made me think of scripture. I somehow managed to slip out though. I don't know how that happened, but I got out and everyone was kind of like, "You're right," and I had all like blood dripping down my ears because it really squashed me, really caused a bit of damage. But that was basically it. So it was almost like God had somehow had spared me, and so I'd got out of some kind of dodgy position that I'd never should have been in the first place. And had rescued me from it is kind of what it felt like. That kind of felt like what the message was that I was caught in a trap. It was this slow closing trap, but God had rescued me from it. That's what it felt like. And obviously, if you think of it like that, well, that's like the world, being rescued from the world, really, isn't it? Anyway, let's go into part 2. So there's 3 parts. Yeah, 3 parts. So part 2 then. So, okay. So I think this is like a little bit out of order, but it kind of works out of order, okay? So I went back so how this works then is completely different location. So I went back to a group that I think I'd previously met. We'd been dancing together, okay? So I'm going to talk about the dancing together bit, but I'm going to do that afterwards. So the person who actually came up to me resembled the character Laurie. That's Laurie, I'm assuming, which is a character from the film Jesus Revolution. Okay, and guess who plays that character? Yep, Jonathan Roumie. Okay, who was just in the previous dream, and a week later I'm dreaming of him again. Now, as I said, I haven't watched anything with him in. The last thing I did watch with him in would have been Jesus Revolution, but that was probably a couple of months ago, maybe something like that. It's difficult to know when that was. But this person, he was a bit of a hippie character, which is why, as I said, it was the Laurie character. I can't get that out of my mouth properly. Character. So a bit of a hippie, and he was with his partner and some friends. And so what was happening was we were reflecting on how I just narrowly escaped death. So I'd obviously I'd met them, and this dancing bit was all before this trap thing that happened. So we were talking about how I'd narrowly escaped death, and he was saying, and this is what he said. So he said, "You're special, Look at what God is doing." that's basically what he said. So I talked to him about, you know, I was looking to do more for God, and how I'd started a YouTube channel, and I said, you know, so far I've uploaded 15 videos so far, but I said it really needs like a bit of music, you know, a bit of flair to it. You know, needs spicing up a bit maybe, you know, doing some bits and pieces and stuff like that. I will do that to some of the videos and do stuff with them. But at the moment, I'm just getting the videos out. Very low skill level when it comes to anything IT. So you know, I don't really have those kind of skills. But I'll learn them. I mean, that would be the plan, won't it? And when I told him that I'd got all these videos, I'd put all these videos online and stuff like that, he was overjoyed. He was just like, you know, this is amazing kind of thing. Plus, he said that he was sure that God would actually magnify it. It was what he said. I kind of got this, what he was kind of inferring to a certain extent was that he was going to magnify it, because he seemed to be like this big personality, you know. So yeah, he was inferring, I guess, that he was pretty well connected, he was influential, and that he was going to help me. And then he went on saying how God had saved me and wouldn't let this thing crush and kill me, which was this trap thing. Okay. But helped me to escape, and I was like, well, that's kind of what I thought, you know, potentially. That's what I was kind of that's what I was thinking. But he was kind of confirming things to me, and I mentioned how I was, you know, I was writing my dream journal. That I'd watched I'm talking about. It's weird. I'm talking about real life, right? So I'm talking to him and I'm saying, oh yeah, I was writing my dream journal, and I watched a film. At the same day, I was writing my dream journal, and it had the Flight of the Phoenix in it, which is the film, and it had a plane, and they escaped this crash site by tying themselves to the outside of the plane. And I said, and this was exactly the same as my dream, the demonic theme park dream. But when I first filmed it, I forgot to include it in the video, and I think God wants me to add it in. So this was like a conversation I was having with him, and actually, weirdly, since I'd had this dream, I have actually reshot it, and I did include the video. But I think I included it in another part of the series. I think it was in the Bridge series is where I recorded it. So rather than reshooting it all again, I thought, well, I'm going to refer to this anyway, so I'll put the video in there. So I think it's in the Bridge. Is it the Bridge series? Yeah, I think it's the Bridge series. But yeah, I mean, look for it in there. You'll see this video. It's phenomenal. Again, the signs you see from God are just unreal. Sometimes you just can't believe they're happening, and you're just kind of like standing there stunned, thinking, that's literally what I was writing about just a minute ago. I had no idea. You know, when putting this film on, I had no idea this was going to come up. But this is what is referred to as a kairos moment, which is a Greek term for sort of, I mean, I'll explain what it essentially means, but it's where I've heard people describe this. It's almost like God is stepping out of time and then just saying, here you go, you know, in the perfect timing for what you needed to hear at that point in time. That's something that you needed to see at that point in time. Just perfect timing. Okay, so that was it, you know. And I've had other ones where I was watching a TV series, and the moment that I'm writing about the dream, out of like the 100 episodes, you know, the one episode that is exactly the same as my dream comes on like 15 minutes after I've just written it in a dream. I'm just like, what is going on? It's just humbling. It's very, very humbling when that kind of stuff happens. You just, again, it's one of those things where you just think, you know, if this sort of stuff happened to everybody else every day, I mean, they'd have no doubt whatsoever in their mind that God's real. You know, I mean, you might have some New Agers say, oh, this is just coincidence and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not. There's no way. But again, that's that. So that's basically what I was talking to you about, and I forgot to include it, and I feel that God wants me to add in the video for further clarification and confirming that all this is real and all that kind of stuff. And as I said, the couple, you know, him and his partner and the friends and stuff that were around were just like, wow, you know, they were properly wowed about me sort of talking about this and wanted to, they said like, I want to see your videos, you know, and then that's basically where I woke up. Okay, but then there's another bit where I'll go into part 3. So this bit, I'm just going to super briefly pause just for a second. This is the bit where I'll go through the third part of the dream. And so this is going to actually talk about how I met those friends and how that sort of situation all kind of came about. And then that's the last part of the dream, and then maybe we'll talk about some other bits and pieces. I'll be just a moment. I'm just going to jump into that next dream. Okay, I'm back. So then part 3. So part 3. So this was really, if you were to put it all in sequence, this was the first dream. Then it would have gone to the getting squashed dream, and then it would be going to that bit I just described, where I met, as I said, Laurie, the character from Jesus Revolution, which is a true story. Well, as far as I know, it's based on a true story. Let's say that. Okay, brilliant film. I would highly recommend watching that one. I absolutely loved it, where you see all the people getting baptized. It always kind of chokes me up, seeing people get baptized, seeing people's lives changed. Anyway, so part 3. So as I said, this was really the first part. So someone was DJing and played a music track. Oh yeah, I don't really understand what this means. You know what? I wrote it down, and the example doesn't really make sense to me. What I wrote was, someone was DJing, played a music track, which was played across 2 days. Example, not 11:59 p.m, but say 12:01 a.m. So technically the next day. I'm like, what am I trying to describe that there was a track that was playing, and it was playing at 11:59 and then ticked over into 12:01, so technically being paid across 2 days, but I wrote not 11:59 but say 12:01, so technically the next day. So I don't know. Yeah, it was a bit confusing. I think what it'd been played earlier in the night, and then it was played because it went past 12 o'clock, played again. So it's not. I think that's what I'm trying to say. Not that it was a track that was played that was say 3 minutes long, and it went from just before 12 and then just after 12. I don't think I'm trying to describe that. I'm trying to describe something earlier in the night and then again later in the night. Okay, and it was something. Something to do with like a new record release or something. This DJ was playing, but this was apparently really important. It was really important that it was across 2 days. So I don't understand what the meaning is on that one. Maybe that will come to me at some point as to what that means. With that, and then listening to music with that, and then I talked with him, and then I start talking to Laurie, basically this character. And then I start talking about being crushed and stuff like that. But so that's kind of how that dream went. Then there was there's a tiny little amount of dream where it just jumped to me, and I don't think it's really relevant at all, but I only mention it purely because it's happened once before. Very, very strange. I remember an old dream where I saw it reminded me of a G.I. Joe Jeep, a military Jeep that's all dark green with a white star on the side. I think I inherited that from somebody. I used to play with this army Jeep, but it was exactly the same as that army Jeep. And I remember I remember that being in a dream, but it was just a small part of a dream, and then I dreamt about it again as part of this dream. So I'm sure it means something, but I don't know what it means, obviously, other than the US. But I don't know if it's relevant. Dream was very, very brief, and it included me being rescued by an old USA Jeep, exactly the same as the G.I. Joe one that I played with as a kid, dark green with a white star on it. And I put, this is featured in a previous dream as well, really randomly. I don't understand what that means, really, being rescued by the USA. Yeah, I wonder what that's about. I didn't record the other one that had the Jeep in it as to what it was. I seem to remember I was next to this person in the Jeep, and I was talking through to the person who was driving it, and something else was going on behind them, but it's too long ago that I can't remember the details. So let's just jump into the thoughts then. Okay, so how I would sort of say is it was just really nice encouragement, really, really nice encouragement. So this, as I said, this Jonathan Rumi, the character Laurie, this hippie sort of character, was just so loving, so enthusiastic, and I felt just really kind of loved, really encouraged. It was really uplifting, and again, it felt like it was God communicating again through this character, who Jonathan Rumi plays Jesus, of course, in obviously the series The Chosen, not this. and obviously in Jesus' revolution as well. So, and very much that previous one that I mentioned that was only a week earlier, called Access All Areas ? Yeah, yeah. So I called it that, by the way, because if I had a pass where I couldn't get access to stuff, but it also felt like I was almost trapped in the gardens, which were part of the territory, and there was a bit of a strange strange event in the lift that made me think it was a bit sinister. But yeah, as I said, for me the takeaway was more to do with the encouragement. It was almost like, yeah, God sees you in what you're doing. You're doing all these videos and bits and pieces, and you're trying to do the best that you can do, and stuff like that. So it felt like a really nice encouragement. Again, so I suppose it's only a bit more personal in a way, that dream, but I just wanted to include that really, because that's really rare. Really, 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 really rare. I can't recall any dream where I've felt like there's some in actual positive kind of stuff, positive encouragement and things like that. But that felt very personal, and it felt like it was specifically coming from Jesus. It was like a delivered message that was coming through the actor. In both scenarios was this message being delivered, but specifically this one was, as I said, far more. And then I've had another Jesus dream, like a few more days after that. So I've got that one to go through as well. That seemed sort of prophetic. It's got some symbology in it, which I think is symbolic, and it's got Jesus on stage and all sorts of stuff. So I might do that one next. That's my most up to date one. I've got my dream journal anyway. But there is another one I want to go through, which is a what's it called? One with a title, What Lies Beneath, which I think is kind of a cool title. Yeah, and that's about a dodgy house that's haunted. So I'd quite like to do that one. I did go through the demonic aspect of it, because it's a proper attack, by the way, that one. That's a demonic attack, but it didn't start that way. So I kind of want to go with that one. But I wanted to get these two side by side, as far as these two dreams, so you can see the Jonathan Rumi in one, Jonathan Rumi in another. But yeah, that's where I'll leave it. So hopefully, if you've got any kind of comments, anything you want to kind of put on there, any kind of meaning that you think you have. I don't mention that very often, but yeah, I encourage any kind of comments about it, as long as they're somewhat positive and not just slagging me off, that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm happy with that. That's cool. Right, that's everything for today. Okay, I will see you on the next one.